corn sweat. I know the paint job is not doing it any wonders, but trust me, when I repaint this guy, it's going to look a lot more like him.
So, how did I do? Hey guys, today we're doing kind of a follow-up video to my Spin Master Superman 6-inch figure review. Today I'm kind of going to show you how I repainted my Spin Master Superman figure. I say kind of because I already have a tutorial on my channel on how I generally paint figures, but I'm still going to go through the basic steps here. In the future though, I do plan to do a time lapse on how to paint some of these figures, but for today I'm just going to go through my general explanation. So the first thing I do before painting or sculpting any figure is find reference images. For a while, it was hard to get a good picture of David Cornsweat before he got swole for the role.
Because you were juicing.
But among the various trailers and promo art, I was able to get some good references. So my reference sheet ended up looking like this. Yes, I do have one older picture of him, but that's just so I can have a general idea of how his eyebrows are shaped and how I paint him on. Okay, the first thing I do on any head sculpt is remove the paint using non-acetone nail polish remover. Make sure it's non-acetone so it doesn't melt the plastic. It's actually interesting because it looks like they molded the head sculpt in blue. I guess it was just cheaper, but I don't know, it wasn't a big deal. Then I went in to prime it using Krylon Plastic Safe Pink Primer. I don't actually recommend using this. Try finding one that's Testors, Tamiya, or Citadel brand if you can. Mostly because it's a pain to work with. It ends up being sticky on this kind of material and also kind of gets thick and leaves marks sometimes, but it worked for my purposes this time. Next, I go in with my favorite Vallejo brand paints. I don't use that many, just this one. And this one. And also this one. And this one too. And that one and this one. Okay, I use a lot, and this is just going to keep going. This is why I told you I wasn't going to be an in-depth tutorial. Then I seal it with Mr. Super Clear Matte. Then I go in and gloss the eyes and the lips with Vallejo Gloss Varnish. Okay, I'm going to try to go step by step, but again, it's going to be really vague until I make my actual time-lapse in-depth tutorial. First, I go in lightly with this skin tone. Very thinly. You can see you can barely even see it, just to add a little bit more color to the face. And then I go in and mix these three paints and splatter it to make a skin texture, which looks like this. This is mostly going to get covered up by your future layers, but try not to make it too thick because you really don't want to over-exaggerate it, especially for a small head like this one. Next, I go in with different washes of blue, red. You can do multiple red colors. I personally do, but you don't actually have to. And yellow. I forgot to record this part, but you get the gist. You can do those washes as much as you want, but afterward, I normally like to neutralize it with a little bit of red and a little bit of skin tone, which ends up looking like this. You can see the skin texture is faintly there, but not too obvious, which is what you want because you want it to look realistic, but not over exaggerated. After I do that, I go in with some blush around his cheeks and around his nose and his eyes and his ears, around the general areas you'd find. Then I go in with a blue wash to add some faint stubble around his beard line, and then a little bit of yellow mixed with a little bit of skin tone to add some highlights around the high spots like his cheeks and like his forehead and whatnot. After I do that, I generally like to do his eyes. First, I base the eye with a little bit of white mixed with a little skin tone with a little bit of gray. And then I paint the lower and upper eyelids with some brown, red, and skin tone, black for his eyelid and the outside of his eye, this trio for the inner eye, and then blue, white, gray, and a little bit of green for the color of his actual iris. And then lastly, of course, black for his pupils, which looks like this. I know that was a lot, but hopefully you can kind of see the different layers I'm talking about within his inner eye, upper eye, and his eyelids and whatnot. Then I go in with the black and skin tone to make his eyebrows. You want to do a bunch of little tiny lines rather than two big caterpillars so you actually have some texture to it. Then for his lips, first I like to line the inside of his lips very faintly, very watered down with a little bit of red and a little bit of orangey kind of red just to get the little faint impression, just very, very thinly, very faint impression. Then I do the outside of the lip with this quintuplet of paints, for these 4 paints. And then it looks like this. There's not a whole lot of color to it, but you can see there's the faint impression of everything. And I go with this brown with a little bit of this reddish tan color on the inside of the lips to add a little bit of lining to it. Lastly, for the hair and the hairline, I just do some black and brown, which looks like this. You want to build the hairline very slowly with many very thin layers so you can have this kind of textured, layered look like I have here. Okay, I know that was a lot and it was probably really confusing and fast and not very helpful. I hope by showing you the different textures and different layers help illustrate why I do each step the way I do. So hopefully you can see here, especially around the lips, the different layers I was trying to convey. You see how his lip isn't just one solid color, it's a bunch of different colors and the inside of it is a little bit different of a color than the outside. And the same thing goes here for the rosiness of the cheeks and of the nose and the highlights around the different areas of the skin along with the various freckles you can kind of see on his face. I'm actually really proud about this hairline. This is a really weird thing to say, but I think this is the best hairline I've ever painted. As you can see here, these close-up angles do not look flattering to it at all, but that's kind of the point I want to make. It's not going to look perfect when you have it up against a nano lens or something, but as long as it looks good to you, that's all that matters. But I mean, this thing is tiny. Here it is next to a penny. And for my international viewers, here it is next to a peso. And for my people with no depth perception, here are the 2 coins next to each other. And if that wasn't enough, here it is next to the head size I'm used to painting. You can tell it was definitely a challenge because this is way, way smaller than what I'm used to, but it was pretty fun. Like I said before, I really do think this head sculpt is really accurate to the actor. Of course, it's not perfect. I think it's a little bit too wide, but it still looks a lot like him, especially in the promo art, which looks like they're using for reference. To prove my point, I'll overlap it with an actual picture of him, and you can see it really is quite close. Again, it's just slightly maybe a little bit too fat or something, or too wide. I honestly think it's a better likeness than the McFarlane figure, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see until I repaint that one too. Stay tuned, I guess. Here it is in natural sunlight. I normally like doing this test to determine whether or not my paint job is actually good or if it just looks good indoors. I know it might sound kind of dumb, but trust me, it helps a lot. I couldn't help myself but to do this comparison. I know it's silly, but I mean, what can I tell you? Before I go, I did want to see what it looked like on a couple different bodies. These are the same ones I did in my last video, nothing crazy, just the DC icons and the 2 Mafex figures. Thank you guys for watching. Again, I'm really sorry if this video wasn't as in-depth as it could be. I do plan to do some more repaints in the future and actually show those on camera. Like the 12-inch Spinmaster figure, since it's bigger, it's going to be easier to record. And also the 6-inch Guy Gardner, just because I think it'd be pretty fun. And also, if you guys were interested in getting this figure repainted by me, or for a matter of fact, any figure, of course, within reason, repainted by me, feel free to send me a DM on Instagram. I am more than happy to work something out. If you liked the video, a like, subscribe, a comment, and a follow on Instagram at EachFigures would be much appreciated. But until then, I will see you in the next video whenever that may be.